such an easy thing for you to do. Your hand is moving right now. You are still showing up at the tomb of every Lazarus. Your voice is calling me out right now. I know you're able, my God, come through again. You can do all things. You can do all things but fail, 'cause you've never lost a battle. No, you never lost a battle. I know, you never will. Everything's possible by the power of the Holy Ghost. A new wind is blowing right now, breaking my heart of stone, taking over like it's Jericho. And my walls are all crashing down. I know you're able, my God, come through again. You can do all things. You can do all things but fail, 'cause you've never lost a battle. No, you've never lost a battle. I know, you never will. You can do all things, oh yeah. You can do all things but fail, 'cause you've never lost a battle. No, you've never lost a battle. I know, you never will. You never lost a battle. You never lost a battle. You've never lost a battle. You never will. You never will. You never lost a battle. You've never lost a battle. You've never lost a battle. Never. You can do all things but fail. You can do all things but fail, 'cause you never lost a battle. No, you never lost a battle. I know, you never will. You can do all things. You can do all things but fail, and you've never lost a battle. No, you've never lost a battle. I know, you never will.
Good evening, Seven Friends. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. While I was getting ready for the Sabbath and thinking about Seven this evening, I was thinking about my childhood and something that was very special to me. And that was that when I was very young, we used to celebrate the start of the Sabbath at my grandparents' home. And we would sit around with some friends and we would sing some songs. And one song that we would sing that was a tradition and a favorite of everyone's was the song, "Day is Dying in the West." And it starts out, "Day is dying in the west, heaven is touching earth with rest." And when I think about the Sabbath and I think about rest and we think about stopping and taking time to spend with friends and spend with God, it just helps you kind of shed all of that stress from the week and all of the things that you've been worried about. It's that time to spend with Jesus. And Psalms 118:24 says, "This is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it." And you know, when I get ready for the Sabbath and I set aside all of the things that I've been worrying about at work or that the kids have been worrying about at school, it's just like I have a load that has been lifted off of me. And I hope that this evening, as we start our Sabbath with Seven, that we can remember that It's about rest. It's about leaving the things of the world behind. And as I light this candle this evening, I want you to think about that message.
Within my heart is a melody that was not taught. In the darkest night, it still goes on. The anthem of my God within my heart is a treasure that cannot be bought. When all else is faded, it will not. The presence of my God, oh, magnify the Lord. Let us exalt His name together. No one beside you, Lord. Honor and praise are yours forever. Before your throne, in the mystery that can't be known, lives the majesty that's yours alone. How glorious you are. You are the one who redeems the wrongs that I have done, reigning over all the days to come. How glorious you are. Oh, magnify the Lord. Let us exalt His name together. No one beside you, Lord. Honor and praise are yours forever. Honor and praise are yours forever. Holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty. Holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty. Holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty. Singing holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty. Is the Lord God Almighty. Oh, magnify the Lord. Let us exalt His name together. No one beside you, Lord. Honors and praise are yours forever. Honor and praise are yours forever. Jesus at the center of it all. Jesus at the center of it all. From beginning to the end, it will always be, it's always been you, Jesus. Jesus, sing with us. Jesus at the center of it all. Jesus at the center of it all. From beginning to the end, it will always be, it's always been you, Jesus. Jesus, nothing else matters. Nothing in this world will do. Jesus, you're the center. Everything revolves around you. Jesus, you at the center of it all. Jesus, be the center of my life. Jesus, be the center of my life. From beginning to the end, it will always be, it's always been you, Jesus. Jesus, nothing else matters. Nothing in this world will do. Jesus, you're the center. Everything revolves around you. Jesus, you. From my heart to the heavens, Jesus, be the center. It's all about you. Yes, it's all about you. From my heart to the heavens, Jesus, be the center. It's all about you. Yes, it's all about you. From my heart to the heavens, Jesus, be the center. It's all about you. Yes, it's all about you. From my heart to the heavens, Jesus, be the center. It's all about you. Yes, it's all about you. Matters. Nothing in this world will do. Jesus, you're the center. Everything revolves around you. Jesus, you. 7, this next part. This is an appeal for each and every one of our hearts as we sing out this prayer to Jesus for him to be the center. Jesus, be the center of your church. Jesus, be the center of your church. Every knee will bow, every tongue shall confess you, Jesus. Jesus, everybody sing Jesus. Jesus, we give you all the glory. We worship you, our Lord.
Good evening, Seven Family. I hope you've been enjoying the stories that we've been going through in the Bible. I might chance have had a chance to go through and listen to those sermons, but I know regardless of the stories, regardless of the people being spoken of, I know you've been blessed, and I know that you have been taken into the heart of God and seen how God is working in the lives of different men and women in the Bible. And today I'm excited to kind of be one of the finishers of the series and talk about my good friend Joseph. I love the story of Joseph so much because it takes us into the story of a 17-year-old boy, young man, I should say, and it takes us through a 25 or so year journey where we see this young man develop into this phenomenal pillar for Judaism as well as Christianity. And I'm excited to speak about him because every time I open up Genesis and I go to the story of Joseph, and it's not frequent, but every time I read his story, I lie to you not, I have tears that flow down my eyes. And that's because the story of Joseph, if you go through and it takes place from Genesis 37 all the way up to about Genesis 45, 46. If you go through the story of Joseph, the language and the details that are used in the story are so fascinating, so detailed, and with so much emotion, so much turmoil that it takes you into the heart of the story. Allows you to feel the pain, to feel the heartache, to feel the love, to feel the reconciliation that takes place, and it just brings you to tears. It reminds us of what Christ is regularly doing for us. And so today we're going to go through that story. How it's going to work tonight is I'm going to take you through the story, and we're going to stop at a few places, and we're going to see how the wardrobe and the clothing that Joseph has gives us advice. It allows us to see how we can, as we are on this journey that Christ has us on, how we can learn from Joseph and the clothes that he was wearing. And so if you're big into clothing wardrobe, you're really going to enjoy the sermon tonight. And so the story of Joseph itself, we're going to start with towards the end of it. We're going to start where Joseph is speaking about the purpose in which God has sent him from all this roller coaster of a life he just came through. And so Joseph is speaking, and he's speaking with his brothers, and the reader, he's speaking with his brothers, he's speaking with the reader, and he says, "The reason why God sent me before you is to preserve life." The reason why we have gone through all this is so that I can preserve life. And this is important because I believe that the dreams and the visions and the directions God has for our lives, I believe the primacy of it is to preserve life. I don't care who you are, God is in the business of preserving life. And this was no different through the story of Joseph. And so we find ourselves towards the tail end. I want us to remember this. The dreams that God had for Joseph, the visions that God had for Joseph, the focus of it was to preserve life. But today we're going to go through and I'm going to walk you through that story, take you through a quick little story time with Joseph. And we're going to see, like I said before, how his wardrobe helps us understand how to navigate a bit of this life. I believe with all my heart that God has you on a vision. God has you on a track. God has dreamed for you. And for some of us, God has made these dreams known. And we may find ourselves in a similar position as Joseph, similar situations as Joseph, and we can learn from him. We can learn from his clothing on how to handle these different situations. And so we find ourselves today as 17-year-old Joseph. Joseph is one of 12 sons. Joseph is favored by his dad, Jacob. And Joseph, in his family, he is his dad's wife's favorite wife. And he goes, and Joseph, out of his favoritism, Jacob chooses Joseph to be the manager of his brothers. I'm not sure if you have siblings, but whenever your parents put you in charge of something, something always goes wrong. Someone always gets jealous. Tensions rise and things get ugly really fast. And this was no different with Joseph. Joseph would regularly be asked to go and give reports of what his brother was doing, and he would go and kind of manage the household a little bit. And the way that Jacob, his father, signified his favoritism for him, the Bible says, is he gave him a robe of many colors. And this robe, I want you to imagine it to be like a med student or a nursing student getting their white coat. This robe signified great accomplishment. It signified honor. It was something that was that you wanted because it was expensive. It was made with great material and it was colorful. And so everywhere Joseph went, he had this robe on. His brothers saw it and reminded them of the fact that Joseph was his father's favorite, and Jacob, his dad, did not hide that. And so to put salt on a wound, what Joseph would do, he would have these dreams. He would have these very vivid dreams, and he would go to his brothers and say, hey, fellas, hey, brothers, guess what? Already annoyed, they say, what do you want, Joseph? What do you want? And he said, I had a dream. I had a dream we're in the field. We're bundling up wheat. All of your wheats bowed to my wheat as my wheat stood up high. His brothers hearing this got very annoyed, very irked. They're just like, bro, what's wrong with you? Do you think we're going to bow down to you? Do you think we're going to serve you? And so Joseph didn't have the most tact. He couldn't really read the room at times. He didn't realize how much animosity his brothers had for him. But yet he goes again and tells his brothers a second dream. And this time his dad was in the room. He's like, hey, y'all, I want you guys to listen up. I got something to tell you. Last night I dreamt a very vivid dream. It was the moon, the stars, and the sun. And there was 11 stars. And you guys all bowed before me. And his dad and his brothers kind of looked at him to the side like, what's wrong with you? Like, you really think we're going to serve you? Or you really think we're going to bow down to you? And his dad, Jacob, scolded him. It's like, yo, you can't say that anymore. And so Joseph kept it to himself. Like I said, Joseph was a young boy. He was a bit immature. We could even say because he was so spoiled, he kind of was full of himself a bit. He didn't have that much tact. And one day his dad called him over, like, hey, Joseph, I need you to go into the field and check on your brothers and see how they're doing. Check on my land, on my sheep. And I want you to go out and see how they're doing. So he said, bet, let me go ahead and go. He goes to the first spot his dad sends him. There's this random guy that says, hey, what are you looking for? He tells him, I'm looking for my brothers. He said, hey, they're gone. They're in a whole nother field. He said, awesome. He goes. He checks out that field. Before he could see his brothers see him. Just the sight of Joseph to his brothers brought them so much anger that they were just like, let's just kill this dude. Let's just take him out. And Reuben, the older brother, said, yo, you guys got to chill. Let's not kill him. Just throw him to his pit and figure out what to do with him then. And so his brother says, bet, let's do that. So Joseph gets close. He has his coat of many colors. I can imagine him with his head held high. And his brothers see him. They take him and they strip that coat off of him and throw him into that pit. They strip the clothing off of him and throw him into the pit. And so our first advice from Joseph and from the clothes he is wearing is sometimes we need to be humbled. Sometimes we are in our we understand the or we get these dreams that God has for us. We kind of get the flow that God has for our lives. But sometimes we go in our relationships and we don't have tact. We disregard the people around us that may be trying to figure things out, maybe is trying to figure out their lives, and we're just kind of like holding our head high, like, look at me, like I'm the boss. Regardless of where God has for you to be or where he has for you in life, if he has you set nicely, be humble about it. Remember those around you. Have some tact. Not everything is meant to be said all the time. And Joseph did not remember that. So much so that the animosity between his brothers were built up so much that they wanted to physically hurt him. And so the first thing we can learn from the clothing that Joseph had was this. Joseph's clothes being stripped away can help us understand that sometimes we need to be humbled to understand who we are. And that humbling oftentimes comes out of our control. It could be loss of a job. It could be not getting accepted to a certain school. It could be X, Y, and Z. The list can go on and on, but sometimes we need to be humbled. And so the story goes on, and Joseph's brothers, they say, okay, we're not going to kill this guy. What we're going to do instead, we're going to sell him to the Ishmaelites. We're going to sell him as a slave. We're going to take his coat. We're going to kill a goat. We're going to pour some blood on it and tell our dad that he died in a freak accident. So they do that. And Joseph finds his way into this Egyptian house named Potiphar. And so the biblical account tells us that Potiphar was a chief officer. So he probably worked in Pharaoh's court somehow. He probably was one of his generals or one of his officers. But either way, it wasn't uncommon for people who were working in government to also have side gigs and side businesses. So this man was a busy man. And so the Spirit of the Lord fell upon Joseph, and Potiphar noticed that because everything that Joseph touched basically in his house basically turned into gold. Not literal gold, but everything that happened that he did in his house, it was successful. Potiphar took note of that and said, awesome, you're going to run my household. I'm not worried about nothing. You do a good job. You're going to manage my household. Take it over. So Joseph doing his thing, he's running the house like on a tight ship, and things are being ran well to the point that Potiphar doesn't worry about anything besides him waking up, him eating, and him going to do his business there in Egypt. But one day, Potiphar's wife notices Joseph. And I love the fact that the biblical account says this about Joseph. Joseph was good looking both in form and in figure, meaning this young man, as I like to say, was a baddie. He had the face, he had the body, and obviously he had the work ethic. So he was just, prime time material for these ladies. And Potiphar's wife noticed that and pulled him aside when no one was at the house. There was no other servant. It was just Potiphar's wife and Joseph. And he said, hey, I want you to sleep with me. My husband's not here. There's no other servants. I want you to sleep with me. And so Joseph, being the man that he is, he says, absolutely not. Your husband, my boss, we have a relationship. We have a boundary that we set up that if I were to do this, this would forever break this boundary. And the other reason why I'm not going to do it is because this is a sin against God. And so what Joseph does instead, and at this point, Joseph has himself a nice little robe. Joseph loves his robes. He likes to dress nice. He has a nice little robe. And instead of Potiphar's wife stripping it from him, Joseph leaves it in Potiphar's wife's hands. I want to make sure we understand this correctly. Joseph leaves his coat in Potiphar's wife's hand. So the next advice we could give on our journey as we are living this dream and living this vision that God has for us is that there are situations where we need to voluntarily leave. The situation itself is either toxic for us to where we will not be able to live and grow in the direction God has for us. So we have to leave, or there are boundaries that will be crossed that should not be crossed, and we need to leave. There are many of us who are in these relationships knowing good and well we should not be in them because they're toxic, because they're not great for us, not great for us personally, and they're not great for our relationship with the Lord, and we still remain in a relationship saying, well, maybe God can work something out. No. There are times where we just have to leave our coat there and walk away. Because we know that this relationship is not going to be good for us. There are some of us who are in our jobs, knowing that our jobs is asking us to push boundaries or to do things that may not be right in the eyes of God according to our relationship with Him. Or that just may break relational boundaries. And we choose to remain. We got to leave our coat and walk away and run away. And so in our first example, we see Joseph's coat being ripped from him. He's being humbled. In the second example, we find that Joseph is intentionally and voluntarily putting his coat, giving his coat to Potiphar's wife and leaving the situation because he knows the situation is not a healthy situation that will magnify God, nor will it have a positive effect on his relationship with his boss. We need to learn our boundaries as brothers and sisters, period. Our boundaries are there for a reason. If a situation is causing you to break a boundary, if a person is causing you to break a boundary, I encourage you, consider it and leave. What happens next is Potiphar's wife, not happy with the outcome, She takes the jacket, she takes a piece of clothing. She goes ahead, she takes all of the, she goes to the servants, she goes to her husband. She's like, look at what happened. This Hebrew he brought into our house, he tried raping me. And so Joseph ends up in jail. I won't go into too much detail of what goes on in jail there, but I do encourage you to go and read the account yourself because it's actually a pretty phenomenal occurrence. But in jail, Joseph meets a really important person in his life and allows him to get introduced to the Pharaoh, the number one person in the kingdom. Pharaoh has two dreams. Joseph, by the grace of God, by the power of God, goes ahead, interprets these dreams, and says, listen, Pharaoh, I have interpreted these dreams. There will be 7 years of plenty, meaning the land's going to be filled with vegetation. It's going to be the time to grow. It's going to be a growing season. But then there's going to be 7 years of famine, 7 years of desolation across the land. So I advise you to find someone who can take the 7 years, store everything up, manage it, and have everything set for the kingdom. That way, when the 7 years of famine comes, you guys will be set. Joseph, thinking his job here is done, Pharaoh looks at him and says, listen here. I can tell the Spirit of God's upon you. I can tell you're different from everyone else. What I'm going to need from you is I'm going to want you to fill that position. I'm going to want you to be that guy. Because what I can see from you now is that you are able to do that. So what he does, he gives him a job description how Joseph's going to be the number 2 in the kingdom. He takes off his ring, he puts it on Joseph's hand, and next thing he does is he clothes Joseph with fine linen in a new fit. By fit, I mean new outfit for those who are a bit older. So the third thing we can learn from Joseph is that the dreams and the visions God has for us, despite how much we know, despite how much we understand, He is going to finish what He started, period. If He started something in you, He's going to finish what He started. With Pharaoh clothing Joseph with that fine linen, that was an indication into Joseph's life that this is the finale of what God is doing for Joseph, what God was doing through Joseph. Remember, God sent Joseph before his family to preserve life. The life that Joseph preserved wasn't just the life of himself. It wasn't just the life of his family. And to be quite honest with you, it wasn't even just the life of the Egyptians. He was actually able to help preserve the life of the known world to him. And so to Joseph, he just remembers that dream when he was a 17-year-old boy of his brothers bowing down to him and the moon and the stars bowing down to him. He did not understand or realize the gamut in which God was going to use him to bring him to this point. When God says he's going to do something in your life, allow him to finish it. Allow him to put that fine linen on you to signify that, yo, I'm still doing good work in you. Many of us have gone through roller coasters of a season. And we're looking around, we're seeing our friends doing this, we're seeing our friends doing that. He's like, but God, I'm just over here just sulking and I don't know what's going on. God's like, yo, just chill. Did I not let you know from jump ship I have great things for you? Then trust me in this when I say I'm completing something in you. So when you think about the story of Joseph, I want you to think about his outfits. I want you to think about the first outfit that was stripped from him. That initial humbling. That maturing that he had to do as a man. Then he moves into Potiphar's house. And he realized that there is more to life than being immoral. And that the relationships he has, they have boundaries and he didn't want to cross them. And instead of indulging or breaking those boundaries, he just set his clothes aside and ran. And lastly, we find that as Joseph makes his way into Pharaoh's house, it is by Pharaoh signifying to him and putting on that fine linen. The guy is saying, hey, you know those dreams we dreamt of together when you were young? This is what I was talking about. This is it. And so I leave this with you, Seven family. The Lord is dreaming big things, bigger things that you can never imagine. You may think it's something like this, but God is dreaming like this. And all he's saying is, trust me in this process. I may need to humble you to remind you of who I am and who you are. I'm going to need you to stay faithful to the values and morals I have instilled in you. I'm going to need you to live in right relationship with people around you. Respect their boundaries. And lift people up. Even though I'm doing great things in you, don't tear people down and don't be an idiot. And lastly, you'll know when that time has come. Thank you, Seven family. I look forward to seeing you guys reading that text either tonight or this weekend and being blessed as well.
If my heart could tell a story, if my life could sing a song, if I have a testimony, if I have anything at all, never cared for me like Jesus. His faithful hand has held me all this way. And when I'm old and gray and all my days are numbered on the earth, let it be known in you alone my joy is found. Let my children tell their children. Let this be their memory, that all my treasures are in heaven, and you were everything to me. No one ever cared for me like Jesus. His faithful hand has held me all this way. And when I'm old and gray and all my days are numbered on the earth, let it be known in you alone my joy is found. I'm still in love. You're still enough for me. Still all I want. You're still my everything. I'm still in love. You're still enough for me. Still all I want. You're still my everything. No one ever cared for me like Jesus. His faithful hand has held me all this way. And when I'm old and gray and all my days are numbered on the earth, let it be known in you alone my joy is found.
Thanks again, Seven. Hope you were blessed. Remember, God's doing big things for you. Before we head out, let's pray. Good God, we just want to thank you again for being awesome and for having bigger dreams than we could ever imagine. As we leave here tonight, I just pray that we may trust you and believe that you will finish the things that you started. Help us to overcome those things that are keeping us from you. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.